能够，我们今天第一位的嘉宾呢，是一位华人，他的名字呢叫 Kenny Xu，然后呢，他有出一本非常畅销书呢，叫做Inconvenient Minority，我都不知道怎么翻译这个哈。其实呢，他是接受过很多媒体的采访。那么呢，我现在就来就是给 Kenny Xu 我们做一个简短的采访。Thank you, Kenny, for being here. Now we're being watched by hundreds of millions of freedom-loving Chinese people, and a lot of them are inside this country. So tell us about yourself and why the book is named Inconvenient Minority.
Well, I grew up in Maryland, so I grew up here in the United States. And, you know, there's a lot of times when people say, and this is my message to you guys all across the globe, a lot of times people say, well, Asian Americans, they don't speak out. And they tend to be soft about things. And I learned very early on, you can't do that in America. You have to speak up because we are the inconvenient minority. Right now, there are schools like Harvard University, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Princeton. They're all discriminating against Asian Americans because they don't want too many Asian Americans because Asian Americans tend to study very hard, They tend to get a good education, and so they want less of us, and we have to speak up. We have to stand up for our rights. In America, it is true that oftentimes the loudest win, and that's my message to everyone across China, across everybody listening to this broadcast. Speak up. It matters.
Thank you so much. And also, in this country, people are increasingly paying attention to the threat coming from the communist China, that is the Chinese Communist Party. And we know the CCP never represent the Chinese people because in China there's no freedom to elect. And so, but they somehow want people to think that all the Chinese people living overseas or living in this country are spying for CCP. And so, so are you worried that when people are talking about taking down the Chinese Communist Party, this might victimize the Chinese people?
I think Americans are discerning enough to understand the difference between somebody who wants to come here to get a good education and who really loves America and somebody who wants to serve China and the Chinese Communist Party. There are many Chinese international students who come here who just want to learn, but they do face pressure from the CCP in the form of these new Confucius Institutes and all kinds of things that are going on in America, the CCP's infiltration of America. So what we should do as people who care about this is, we should make sure that, we investigate people on an individual basis, not try to put it in a racial lens.
Absolutely. I know your parents immigrated from mainland China, and there's so many Chinese people who have fled to communist China for America because this is a free country. And so are you worried that this country is becoming more like the country that your parents fled?
I am. When Mao really unleashed his Cultural Revolution, one of the things that he did was he promoted people based on their own fealty to him, their own loyalty to him, rather than based on competence. And in America, you see that that's what's starting to happen. Now new doctors are being trained to pledge to social justice, and if you don't, you could lose your job. Even if you're a great doctor, we need to respect merit again in this country. And the new woke movement, that's what it's called in America, the woke movement, is the antithesis of what it means to be treated on the basis of merit.
Does the woke movement remind you of the Cultural Revolution where your grandparents or the older generation in China might have experienced?
It does, because Mao got rid of the standardized entrance exams to get into the Chinese colleges, to get into the top colleges, and replaced it with, people that pledged loyalty to him, the red and the black classes. And in America right now, you're going to have red and black classes. You're going to have the people who are allied to social justice, who get all of the benefits, who get the promotions, and you see it, who get all of the popularity, and the people who express dissenting views to get fired, canceled, And that's something that I cannot stand. It is reminiscent of Maoist China. And when that happened, by the way, millions of people died, and China had a brain drain, and many people fled China, and the CCP is still struggling to emerge out of it today.
Oh, absolutely. You know, in this new Congress, the 118th Congress, they started a new subcommittee. It's called Select Committee on China. And it was voted almost on the party line because there are some Democratic congressional leaders think if we start a committee targeting the CCP or Communist China, it might affect the Chinese American living in this country. So are you worried that when this country is going to hold the CCP accountable for the pandemic, for all the problems, are you worried that this become a racist movement? Because that's what some Democratic leaders are talking about.
There's definitely some racism coming from Democratic leaders against Chinese Americans these days. It seems to be the one issue, attacking China that seems to be uniting Democrats and Republicans, and I'm fine with that because we should tackle the CCP. You understand the CCP has been stealing technology from us. They have been, spying on us, hurting our citizens, and everything like that. I just want to make sure that all of the stuff that we do with the CCP is tackled on an individual basis.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's also whether they have ties with the CCP, either political ties or money ties. It's not about race, color, or national origin.
That's a really good point because you see some of the finances of some of our elected leaders, Mitch McConnell, and all of his ties to China. Sure, he doesn't look Chinese, but he's probably more affiliated with China than any average Chinese person in America.
Absolutely. There's a lawyer, his name is George Higginbotham. He was actually employed by DOJ as a senior congressional staff, and he actually walked into CCP's embassy in Washington, D.C., and took tens of millions of dollars and agreed to help the CCP to lobby the White House, the DOJ, wanting to help the CCP return Mr. Mao Guo, CCP's enemy number one, back to China. And he is not Asian, he's not from China, and there's also two very prominent power brokers affiliated with the RNC, the National Republican Committee, Elliot Brody and Stephen Wynn. They were the finance chairman of the RNC. Again, they took money from the CCP, helping the CCP to do its dirty bidding in the White House and in the DOJ, and they have nothing to do with the Chinese people or nationals. So I think that, sometimes we are living in this country, we have to understand it's not about race color. This is about an idealism.
And that's the mission of Color Us United. We want everybody to be treated on their individual characteristics, right? Not on the basis of your race. I can't control, the fact that I was born in this skin. I can control how hard I work and the people that I keep company with. And that's what we believe in. So if you believe in our message, go to colorusunited.org, sign our petition, fight for merit-based principles in America so that we do not become like the CCP. colorusunited.org.
Wonderful. And how can people follow you? Do you have a handle on social media?
You should follow me at Kenny M. Xu, so at Kenny M. XU, M like Mary, X like an X-ray, at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and buy my book, An Inconvenient Minority. I talk a lot about these issues, including what's going on with the CCP, including what's going on with the anti-Asian groups and the violence that's going on. Buy my book, An Inconvenient Minority, wherever books are sold.
It's a great book. I've read it. Go buy it. Thank you so much, Kenny. We wish you best luck. Thank you.